It's been another week of sick notes and hospitalisation for key witnesses who were due to appear at the Madlanga Commission. From Medicare 24's Mike van Wyk right through to ANC-linked Northwest businessman Suliman Carrim, it's been a game of moving pieces around to get the scheduling aligned as the race to the end of July deadline continues. This week heard damning evidence from Johannesburg Metro Police Department's inspector who claimed she was in a romantic relationship with suspended EMPD Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi. Now, Mkhwanazi was also back on the witness stand to respond to a new set of allegations. It's been a jam-packed week. I'm Ziyanda Ngcobo, and this is your weekly roundup of proceedings at the Madlanga Commission. Monday's proceedings kicked off with what was meant to be Medicare 24 CEO Michael van Wyk's turn on the witness stand, but he was a no-show after suffering severe panic attacks. Now, this is according to his attorney, Sandy du Plessis, who told the inquiry that a psychiatrist, Dr. Arnold Lawrence, had examined him on the 17th of June, changed his medication and recommended admission to a psychiatric unit at the Jacaranda Hospital. Now, Chief Evidence Leader Advocate Matthew Chaskelson accepted the medical evidence, but the Commission's chairperson, Mbuyiseli Madlanga, allowed evidence concerning van Wyk to be led because the inquiry only has 30 days left for public hearings. Now, van Wyk was expected to respond to a series of allegations involving his business partner, Matlala, and EMPD Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi. Here's Junior Kumalo with Monday's proceedings, where Chaskelson submitted WhatsApp exchanges between van Wyk and Matlala as documentary evidence of how the pair were dealing in cocaine.
The relationship between Medicare 24 Chief Executive Mike van Wyk and attempted murder accused Matlala appears to have gone beyond that of business partners. WhatsApp chats, video clips, and voice notes presented before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry on Monday suggests that the pair may have also been involved in drug dealing.
What the evidence leaders will be submitting in this regard is it is evidence of Mr. Matlala and Mr. van Wyk involved in the dealing in cocaine.
Chaskelson explained the source of the cocaine in question.
This is the case involving some suspects, some Brazilian suspects who, on the basis of intelligence, were raided and were found in possession of cocaine.
The evidence leader was reading out van Wyk's statement owing to the latter having been granted a postponement from appearing before the commission due to ill health. Chaskelson added that when he recovers, van Wyk would, among other things, have to explain why, as a civilian, he pressured and assisted now suspended EMPD Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi into signing a memorandum of understanding permitting the Medicare holding CEO and Matlala to use blue lights on their private vehicles. Beyond this, van Wyk and Matlala later signed off on the use of their vehicles together with the blue lights to businessman Steve Mutsumi, who reportedly bailed the pair out during their financial challenges.
An arrangement in terms of which Mr. Mutsumi, in his personal capacity, is advancing 20 million rands to Medicare 24 Tshwane district in late April 2025. And that in return, in addition to agreeing to repay the amount out of profit up to an amount of 100 million rands, Medicare 24 is also signing over authority over all of its vehicles to Mr. Mutsumi's security company, Vazwemi Security.
Chaskelson added that Mkhwanazi didn't assist van Wyk and Matlala out of the goodness of his heart.
All of these favors that Commissioner Mkhwanazi is being asked to provide, and in many cases is providing to Mr. Matlala and to Mr. van Wyk, we submit look like favors for which gratifications are paid.
Evidence of Mkhwanazi's bank statements show payments of 30,000 rand and 50,000 rands to his account. For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I'm Junior Khumalo in Pretoria.
On Tuesday, the inquiry continued with the theme of the Ekurhuleni Metro, but this time zoning in on Mkhwanazi and his role in the theft of precious stones worth 14.9 million from their owner, who lived in a block of flats in Killarney. The commission heard from an inspector within the Johannesburg Metro Police Department who testified as witness K, who I would describe as having put the final nail in Mkhwanazi's proverbial coffin. The evidence ranged from an alleged romantic affair between the pair right through implicating Mkhwanazi as the mastermind of the scheme to steal the stones through putting together a team that would go and execute an illegal operation. At the onset, it had to be explained why witness K would have to testify partially in camera.
As she states at paragraph 7.1, in the course of her testimony, she'll identify senior member of the police force who has been implicated already in this commission. And she states, I read from the second line, penultimate line on page 4, although I live in a security complex, he has somehow managed to enter the complex and take pictures of my home and send them to me as proof that he's outside. This has occurred even when I'm not home and have not provided him with an access code. This has caused me great fear and anxiety both for myself and my family. The evidence leaders in their course of engagement with her came to appreciate her state of concern and panic due to inter alia such incidents. We feared that unless there was a way to come to her rescue, quote unquote, we may very well potentially lose her as a witness this week while she overcomes her psychological challenges about testifying to the matters that she intends to testify to.
Witness K explained how she and Mkhwanazi came to be a couple, which clearly, if evidence around the theft is anything to go by, became somewhat of a Bonnie and Clyde type of love affair. But evidently, the romance didn't last long because the JMPD VIP Protection Unit member also claims Mkhwanazi drained her savings accounts as he had time and again borrowed money from her.
Sometime in 2022, I met Mr. Julius Mkhwanazi. I had bumped into him on several occasions outside of the workplace. Mr. Mkhwanazi and I began dating later that year.
Please continue to paragraph 4.
During 2023, while Mr. Mkhwanazi was the director at the Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Police Department, he was suspended for reasons unknown to me at that time. From there on out, Mr. Mkhwanazi would regularly ask me to borrow him some money. His requests for financial assistance were very frequent, and despite promising to do so, he did not pay me back. As his girlfriend, I made plans to assist him with groceries, paying for his legal fees and his disciplinary case at work, and help him to pay school fees for his children. However, things got to a point where I was no longer able to assist him financially.
Witness K explained the details of how the planning of the theft would take place, where she would be the main contact person with an informant she identified as Django Simon, who had intricate knowledge of the whereabouts of the stones. Now, Simon is someone who the JMPD inspector claims had previously provided information about stolen vehicles. Witness K recalled how she received the tip-off about the stones 6 months prior to the theft in February 2023, when Simon informed her that there was a man living in a block of flats in Killarney who was in possession of valuable sugilite stones and wanted someone to recover them from the owner. She says the moment she passed on the information to Mkhwanazi, he didn't waste time and immediately recruited his subordinates at the EMPD, Constable Keisha Lee Stolz, Aidan McKenzie and a civilian, Etienne van der Walt.
Each of us had our roles to play. I had to organize the informer, secure information as to the whereabouts of the stones, and to ensure that the informer was ready to receive the stones and make payment after they got the stones. Mr. Mkhwanazi had to organize the officers that were going to come in and take the stones.
So, while the testimony of witness K, it may have painted Mkhwanazi badly, but it also exposed that her hands too were also not clean. Now, this comes as WhatsApp messages indicate that in total, the gang of thieves who were operating under the cover of the badge was paid 110,000 rand, with each person making off with a mere 22,000 rand from the stones, whose value is said to have been 14.9 million rand. Now, on the day of the theft, witness K says once Stolz and Mackenzie had confiscated the stones from the owner, they called her, where she claims to have questioned the owner about whether they possessed the requisite permits required to have the gems. And later, after buckling under the weight of cross-examination, witness K conceded that her concern at the time was about stealing the stones and not determining whether the owner possessed the proper documentation. But it gets worse, as it was also revealed that there was another plot, and this time to derail an IPID investigation after a complaint was filed against the officials.
Who is that? There on the page of top of page 2, when she says that white guy opened a case of theft and robbery against us, who do you understand white guy to be a reference to?
The owner of the stones.
And the reference to IPID, you understand that to be a reference to?
The CPS, like IPID, yeah, yes, I do understand.
You understand that to be a reference. Well. You understand that. You then say, morning we will meet. And okay. She responds to say, today, question mark, we have to give IPID statements. Friday, he wants to arrest us. And who do you understand that he to be, the he who wants to arrest us?
It's the investigating officer from IPID.
And do you know his name?
It's Makakula.
Witness K, by the way, also conceded that Simon was actually not a police informant, but rather someone who wanted the stones stolen, and that the group was fully cognizant of the fact that they were robbing the owner and not conducting a lawful seizure. This completely dismantles what Mkhwanazi had previously told the inquiry about the operation, which he said was a coordinated effort with the Ekurhuleni and Johannesburg Metro Police Departments. So it's against this backdrop that witness K asked EMPD Constable Kershali Stolz to refer to her as an informer, which would mislead IPID investigator Tulani Makakula, who was already looking into the matter.
You respond to the warning statement and you say, hi, can't you say informer instead of JMPD officer? Are you there?
Yes.
Now that reference to JMPD officer is a reference to you. You've confirmed that earlier.
Yes. Yes, I did.
So now you are asking Officer Stolz to change the part of her warning statement where she mentions you, and you're saying instead of mentioning the officer, the JMPD officer. So you're saying, you're proposing here, instead of saying JMPD officer, informer, say informer. And let me ask you, what's the reason for proposing that change? Why? What is the motivation? Why did you want her to say informer as opposed to identifying the fact that there was a JMPD officer involved? Is it because
I was afraid to be.
Please continue.
Okay, I'm sorry. I meant to say I was afraid. I was afraid to be in trouble at work.
So
if he submits this as JMPD officer, it means that Makakula must come to our office and look for me.
And once again, through the WhatsApp exchanges, some damning evidence against the judiciary, again, having been made, with Stolz telling Witness K that they were sorting out the Director of Public Prosecutions in order to secure having their matter taken off the court roll.
That last sentence where Officer Stolz says, we have made plans to sort out the DPP that side when the case goes. DPP can only be Director of Public Prosecutions, is that right?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure. So what do you understand by the sentence, we have made plans to sort out the DPP that side when the case goes? What do you understand her to be meaning with that sentence?
To have their case taken out of the court roll.
Let's take a short breather, but in a moment I'll bring you the testimony of Mkhwanazi, who had to respond to the fresh allegations against him. Stay with Channel 405. Thanks for staying with us. You're still watching the highlights of the Madlanga Commission this week with myself, Ziyanda Ngcobo. Now, after 2 days of even more damning allegations, Wednesday's proceedings kicked off with the return of the water-guzzling suspended EMPD Deputy Chief, Julius Mkhwanazi. In another case of finger-pointing and shifting the blame, Mkhwanazi told the Madlanga Commission that it was actually Witness K who concocted the grand plan that led to the theft of precious stones worth 14.9 million in February 2023.
She secretly planned this thing. She was part of this thing, operation.
What did she secretly planned? What?
The operation without my knowledge. Or she was part of this operation, but she decided to hide herself in this operation.
But you called it a joint operation with JMPD and Gauteng Traffic, so you formalized it. So what do you mean she secretly organized this one?
She was operation? Yes, she was supposed to be there and be visible. But there's nothing to hide when it's an operation and clean operation. You see, for a mere fact, she decided to hide herself, not to be seen. It tells me something now. Something is coming in my mind.
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
Yes.
Who at JMPD did you speak to that led you to believe that JMPD was part of this joint operation? Because for you to say it's a joint operation involving JMPD, somebody at JMPD must have told you that they are part of this operation. Who is that person at JMPD? I only want the name, not the explanation.
At JMPD, I didn't communicate with anyone.
So how do you know that it was a joint JMPD operation?
The communication with Masego said they are part of this operation.
But Masego is not part of JMPD.
Yes, I agree, Chair. I agree, Chair. Then my understanding, I agree, Commissioner. Then my understanding was that they are part of it. Because we have done many operations with Masego.
And Mr. Masego is deceased, am I correct?
Yes, you're
so
correct.
He doesn't get to speak and dispute your version.
No, we did many operations with him. She won't even change anything. And in those operations were successful, Chair. Commissioner, I mean to say.
But during a cross-examination, Mkhwanazi was taken through the transcripts of his previous testimony at the Commission in relation to the precious stones heist, where he flatly denied knowing who Witness K was.
The two questions that precede this question, I specifically mentioned the name of Witness K. And I then asked you, do you know who this person is? And your answer was no, no, no. So, and you were deliberate because you knew that Stolz and Mackenzie and the other people said in their statements they got information about the stones from Witness K. And it was in that context that you were then asked, do you know this person? And your answer was no, I don't know this person. And I'm going to put to you, Commissioner Mkhwanazi, that either you were not truthful then or you are not truthful now. But it can be that you misunderstood the question because the question was very clear. And you have to stop playing games because we are not in the business of playing games. This is a serious commission of inquiry. People cannot come here and play games and filibuster and obfuscate. If you are asked a question, you answer it, and you answer it truthfully because you've taken oath at the beginning of the day. Please, let's not play games and let's not waste time. If you don't know, just say, I don't know. If the answer is yes, it's yes. If it's no, it's no.
Okay.
If you answer a question but you feel like your answer is incomplete and you want to explain or give context, you can do that. But please answer the questions and answer them truthfully. Let's stop playing games.
Thank you, Commissioners. So now we know that, in truth, you do know Witness K, unlike how you testified previously.
Yes, Commissioner.
Now, earlier that Wednesday morning, Mkhwanazi said he needed time to thoroughly go through Witness K's 6-page statement because of the legal and personal implications his response would have on him. Evidence leader Matlala pointed out to him, however, that there isn't much to really mull over because he's already touched on the topic previously when he claimed that the theft of stones was a lawful joint operation between the Ekurhuleni and Johannesburg Metro Police Departments. These would be the showing shots of discontent that Mkhwanazi has with the Commission, which he claims has shown a bias towards witnesses that have implicated him in wrongdoing. I'll get back to that later, but before Mkhwanazi could get to his gripe, he was first taken through outstanding allegations made against him, including how he colluded with Medicare 24 CEO Michael van Wyk and Matlala to give their private security company peace officer status using a fraudulent police clearance certificate. Now, this is after the Commission beamed a WhatsApp message where Van Wyk appears to have sent the document in question. Silo read out an affidavit sought by the inquiry about how to distinguish between a legit and fake police security clearance certificate.
The application for police clearance certificate. Do you see that?
Yes.
So it says, the deponent here says that that document gets assigned a unique reference number upon registration and a unique transaction number on printing of the certificate. The inquiry number and the transaction number must link to one police clearance certificate at all times. At paragraph 6, it continues to state that the PCC, that's a police clearance certificate, purportedly issued to Mr. Matlala, has a discrepancy with regard to the unique transaction number and the inquiry number, which do not reconcile to a specific police clearance certificate in question. The unique transaction number is linked to a different inquiry number, which has been allocated to a police clearance certificate issued to somebody dated 19 August 2021. Do you see that?
Yes.
At paragraph 7, it continues the inquiry number stated on the fraudulent PCC purported to have been issued to Mr. Matlala does not exist, nor relate to transaction number as specified. This implies that the South African Police Service SAPS did not receive the specific request from Mr. Matlala to issue a PCC. Therefore, the PCC with that inquiry number and transaction number was not issued by SAPS. The signature of the fraudulent PCC appears to have been forged, although there are some features that resemble those of the authorized person.
But despite being taken through a series of WhatsApp exchanges with Van Wyk, where status cards were issued in February 2022, Mkhwanazi has disputed that the project to collaborate with private security firms ever got underway. Now, this would have afforded Matlala and Van Wyk's employees some of the powers given to EMPD officials.
I know now we are individualizing it to Matlala. This operation didn't look at only Matlala, or this project didn't look at only Matlala. You see, we looked at different security companies. I've said that many times. You see, I know the name and everything. That is why it was detected by our team that there's this individual You see, by the time they didn't know they didn't know him, that the black person and the white person, that they, out of all the people that were having. But that's your conclusion.
Do you accept that the only evidence that we have is in relation to the people associated with Mr. Van Wyck's entity and or Mr. Matlala, and that you have not produced any evidence that this project involved more people than Mr. Van Wyck? I'm saying, I'm talking about evidence. Will you accept that you haven't tendered any evidence?
On the second day, on the first day, when I presented, I said, Commissioners, I'm suspended. I can't get hold of documents and everything. The evidence leader said, don't worry, we'll assist you. You see, I know that there's a team that does investigation and everything. I thought by that time, this time you have said, we've got this and this and this and this and this. Because one of the things, again, that I felt that it is important, that's why I mentioned, is the issue of training too. That there was training. If there was thorough investigation, you were also going to get names and everything there. Because the division that is not in me, I can't interfere, it is somebody who deals with that, and it's still there, they are not suspended, they are operational.
Still, Mkhwanazi, who concedes that cards were issued to Van Wyck, struggled to answer questions around where these cards are and the possibility that they could still be bandied about by the so-called peace officers.
Do you think that is appropriate that you start issuing police officer cards before the project is even approved?
Let's correct
because
it.
Now they are armed with these cards which carry a level of authority when presented to members of the public.
Let's correct it. It's on record. It's not police officers' card.
It's
peace officers or
apologies. Peace officer, Peace Corps cards.
Yes.
So you have issued,
yes.
And members of the public holding them, presenting them, having received them from you via Mr. Van Wyck, in circumstances where the entire establishment of that unit, if I may call it, is not approved. Is that appropriate?
It was not via Mr. Van Wyck. I said Mr. Van Wyck is one of them. You see, other people were trained. Other security companies were trained. That's not limited to this one individual. I know here you've got communication between me and him, but I've said it that I agree that I communicated with Mike with this program, but it's not the only one who was trained in this. Many people were trained in this thing.
After struggling to answer about the cards because Mkhwanazi claims he doesn't have access to his work cell phone and laptop due to his suspension, he went on to lash out at the Commission for what he described as character assassination in the media. Mkhwanazi tried to apportion some of the blame to the inquiry because he believes that they have been biased towards previous witnesses who have said unfavorable things about him. This includes the likes of EMPD officials Ekurhuleni Metro, Rivers Peace and Jabulani Isaac Mapyeye.
I raised the issue of Ekurhuleni Metro, that she lied in public, that I wanted to kidnap. Even the car registration, she said she got it at Ignatis, it belonged to me. I've said we can go to Ignatis system now. She cried, wanted sympathy from public, but she lied in public about me kidnapping her. There's no even a single day. I even told the commissioner that I was not even aware that I'm investigated for this thing. There's no single day where she came to me or she talked public about me. The only thing, I even said it. I know Commissioner Kuma was asking something. I even said, even now when you go to my area, every Thursday or Wednesday, there's an article about Mkhwanazi. It was there before she was suspended. It was quiet. She's back again. There's an article about Julius Mkhwanazi every day. It's every Wednesday. It's Julius Mkhwanazi. It's a character assassination. And it has happened, and it is happening, and the Commission's allowing it. My request, Chairperson, is that...
We can't control what the media is publishing, except in those instances where there may be a basis for us to have our spokesperson correct inaccuracies, for example.
Yes.
Yeah, but ordinarily we would do that insofar as it concerns the Commission.
Yeah.
No amount of attempted blame shifting could change the line of questioning put to Mkhwanazi because there were still other outstanding issues that he had to respond to. The suspended EMPD deputy chief was quizzed about a truck hijacking syndicate where owners who've had their goods stolen are extorted 10% of the value of their items by security companies once these items have been recovered. Again, through WhatsApp exchanges, Mkhwanazi and Van Wyk are seen talking about how this was, quote, big business.
Now, as a police officer, why don't you return the stock directly to its owner? Why must you involve a private entity that will bleed the stock owner of 10% of the value of the goods? What is to be gained by the owners of the truck and the goods and by the citizens of Ekurhuleni when you, quote unquote, I'll call it sell this information so that Mr. Van Wyk can make 10% from the owner?
I think I've explained it to Commissioner Kumala. As I'm talking, police officers, EMPD and SAPS, they're working with different companies. And all those jobs is being booked in different. For example, I made an example with the copper, that they recovered the copper that worth 6 million. It worth 6 million. You see, they booked in and everything. It is booked. Then the security companies and the client, because they have an agreement that once we recover, that's what they do. You see. Then I was suggesting that you can make money out of that. Not to say I was going to benefit out of that. And I was saying it openly so. Because it is an open business. Private registered security companies that are doing it on a daily basis.
In a moment, I'll tell you about why ANC-linked Northwest Tenderpreneur Suliman Carrim could not pitch up at the commission again on Thursday, and alleged police informant Ngcobo was also back at the inquiry with a lot of holes being poked into his evidence. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for continuing to make Newzroom Africa your channel of choice. Now, on Thursday morning was meant to see the return of ANC-linked Tenderpreneur Suliman Carrim. I can't say I'm too surprised that he was not present, but neither was Chief Evidence Leader Matthew Chaskelson. Now, during those proceedings, he actually spoke about how Carrim had failed to submit the requested supplementary documentation related to the additional payments that were detected by the Chief Evidence Leader the last time he was at the commission. Now, you'll recall the last time the Tenderpreneur was at the inquiry earlier this year, Chaskelson did an additional analysis of Carrim's bank statements and identified additional transfers totaling about 2.1 million rand from Tasmika Construction, an entity belonging to Carrim, and these transfers were made to Medicare 24, which we now also know Vusumuzi Matlala was a director of. Nevertheless, Carrim's lawyer pushed to have less intrusive means to confirm whether or not their client is truly indisposed.
We sit in a situation today where this is the second appearance for which Mr. Carrim has been medically unfit to appear. We're running out of time, and there are a whole succession of details and documents which he undertook in evidence to make available, which were then demanded of him in terms of notices and which have not yet been forthcoming. So we accept that he is not available to testify today, and that he has been admitted to hospital. So we can't have him here today. But what we would ask of the Commission is to postpone his appearance to the 15th of July. And our request, or our intention in relation to what will happen on 15 July is obviously if Mr. Carrim is here, he will be questioned. It will be the end of his testimony. If he is not here and is still on his version medically unfit, we will no longer seek his appearance on the 15th of July. But if he has subjected himself to independent examination by a specialist appointed by the Commission, and that independent specialist confirms his incapacity to testify, we won't ask for him to be called again. We won't have time to hear his evidence, but we will ask the Commission to make its findings in relation to all matters relevant to the evidence of Mr. Carrim on the basis of the evidence that he has already given and on the basis of the evidence that he has thus far not answered and his failure, if the failure still persists, to furnish audited financial statements, details of auditors and the like.
The second point I was going to make in respect of these the medical examination and less intrusive means is that, and I say this with due respect, because we're not in Uniform Rule 36 territory, there is no comparable direct access to a witness as far as I understand it. My understanding, and you'll know, for example, in the litigation involving President Zuma and the competency of his medical certificate that he used to excuse himself from another commission, if I'm not mistaken, which went originally in front of Judge Pillay, who might have acted with Judge in the Concourt, but is from the KZN division. There the contention was not when the commission, that commission, I don't want to call it the Zondo Commission, but you know which commission I'm referring to. When that commission had issues with the medical certificate and the medical fitness of the witness or otherwise, they had to impugn the medical certificate as the first step and potentially the person who authored the medical certificate, because that's the evidence upon which the witness relies to say, I should be excused from giving the evidence. So why I mention that is because what our learned friends say is that because they've come up against this medical certificate as they have, they must go directly to the witness and subject him to a medical exam from someone other than the doctor of his choosing. Whereas what they could do is they could engage the medical practitioner themselves.
So now the appearance of Carrim has been moved to the 15th of July, and if he fails to show up without sufficient reason, the evidence leaders have already got a plan of action.
If Mr. Carrim does not agree to be examined by an independent specialist, then we will ask the Commission to recommend that he be prosecuted under Section 5 and 6 of the Commissions Act and Regulation 12(2) for hindering the proceedings of the Commission. And we will also ask for the Commission to make its findings on the basis of the evidence that we've heard thus far from Mr. Carrim, but no further evidence.
Once the formalities around Carrim were concluded, it was then time for the return of alleged police informant Tumelo Ngcobo. As soon as the witness statement was done, Ngcobo was pressed about his presence at the scene of the Ayrton drug bust. Ngcobo testified that he was the source of the information regarding the yellow jersey truck carrying drugs worth over an estimated 300 million rand. He struggled to answer why he decided to follow the container carrying the cocaine all the way from the Durban harbour into Gauteng. Here's Newzroom Africa's Linda Mnisi to unpack how things unfolded late on Thursday afternoon.
Tumelo Ngcobo has told the Commission that he is not registered as a police informer and thus does not have an informant number or a handler. He, however, insists that he was a confidential source, still building a rapport.
Let me say this to you, or put this out so that you have the chance to deal with it as long as you're still on the witness stand, not necessarily now. We have had evidence that suggests your involvement in other activities with Chief Mashaba, right? And so when you say you support law enforcement investigations, it is important, at least to me, to know what are you speaking about? What law enforcement people are you talking about, or agencies? What other investigations are you talking about? When are these? So that, because maybe they explain the other evidence that we've received about your involvement in other activities.
Maybe one must start by qualifying the activities or efforts towards becoming a formal informant. From what I understood, one needed to prove themselves at first. That's what I was told. To provide solid information to prove your credibility. But that got lost along the way, because the person that I was supposed to be providing information to then there ended up being favors sought between us. So the project of one building up to become an informant got lost along the way. And when one encountered a general emphasis there was still to build rapport, because we were still at that phase where one builds rapport with the eventuality, because I know my access to information in terms of the access that I bring to crucial information. It would have been fruitful long term. So what I mean to say is the activities prior to or post July 9 are still towards those efforts. Albeit I don't get myself involved in anything. If there is information sought about following up leads.
He tells the Commission that he did not expect payment for the tip-off on the drug-bearing truck that was intercepted in Johannesburg in July 2021, but was pressed on why, as an informer, he was at the scene and what was in it for him.
You didn't leave. You didn't say, here's the information, I've shown you the place. You are seasoned police officers, you do your thing. I'm satisfied that I've given you the information. You park where you're not seen. Why? Why are you there?
I stayed out of the line of sight solely to maintain my anonymity. So as to say, no one would know who was the source of information. It was not due to the fact that I did not want to be spotted by yellow jersey employees. But in any case, my presence at a scene of crime would be unwarranted. I myself still maintain I shouldn't have been in Erotin. My presence at Yellow Jersey I was confident that I do not disturb any of the affairs of the operation.
Ngcobo was also grilled about the 60,000 rands found in his vehicle when he was arrested. He labelled the money as petty cash, claiming it helped him keep a low profile when he travelled to KwaZulu-Natal. But the evidence leader, pointing to bank records, was not convinced, and neither were the commissioners.
I would concede.
You concede, thank you. Now, this takes us back to, that concession takes us back to the point made by Commissioner Baloyi, which is, once you have all these difficulties, that tends to suggest that you having that much money in your car at Ekurhuleni on the 9th may well be that you had that cash for some other reason, not the reason that you have given us. Do you want to comment on that?
Chair, I wasn't planning to be in Ekurhuleni. So I might as well have had that money in Yellow Jersey. The decision for me to find myself in Ekurhuleni was made by other people, not myself, or was made for me.
No. Maybe let me forget about Ekurhuleni. Let me talk about you having that amount of cash in your car. That was for a reason other than the reason that you have given us. Your comment?
I disagree, Chair.
For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I'm Lynn Damnisi in Pretoria.
Ngcobo was expected to pick up on his testimony on Friday, but this never got underway after a request by evidence leader Tebogo Mosekedi to consult with Ngcobo. Those consultations took the entire day, and proceedings related to Ngcobo have now been postponed to Monday. All right, let's take another short breather. I will have more on the Madlanga Commission and other related stories in a moment. Stay with Channel 405. Welcome back. I want to bring you this massive development in relation to a story that's been central to testimony at the Madlanga Commission and the Ad Hoc Committee. Now, the National Prosecuting Authority has revealed that it's proposed a plea agreement with alleged underworld figure Vusumuzi Cat Matlala, which will see higher-ranking officials up the food chain being implicated in the 360 million rand Medicare 24 tender. Matlala appeared in the Specialized Commercial Crimes Court in Pretoria on Thursday and entered into a plea bargain with the state. Now, under the deal, the alleged tender tycoon will become a state witness and testify against those implicated in the controversial contracts which saw 228 million rand being dispersed. Now, this is in exchange for a reduced sentence. The court has reserved judgment on whether to accept the agreement, with the matter postponed to the 1st of July for judgment and possible sentencing. Here's Veronica Mkhwanazi with those proceedings.
The man at the centre of a multi-million rand police tender scandal is set to become a state witness in a deal that could implicate senior figures within the South African Police Service. Vusumuzi Cat Matlala pleaded guilty to 7 counts of fraud, corruption and money laundering, linked to the rigging of a 228 million rand police tender. Matlala's company, Medicare 24 Tshwane District, secured the lucrative contract to provide health and wellness services to SAPS members. Prosecutors told the court the procurement process was tainted by irregularities, with bidding rules deliberately bypassed to favour his company.
Pertaining the count of fraud involving certain bid documentation in respect of a tender to the value of 228,665,280 rand. As accused number 1, how do you plead to this count? Guilty. Thank you.
Under the agreement, Matlala will testify against those implicated in the matter in exchange for a proposed 15-year prison sentence, with 7 years suspended leaving him with an effective 8 years behind bars. And Kat is already talking. The state says Matlala has provided a detailed statement that supports investigations into high-profile individuals involved in the scheme.
For the first time, we have an accused who has come forward and has given us detail that we would not have been made aware of. That evidence we would not have been able to obtain. That would have resulted in a travesty of justice. That would have resulted in some of the key figures in the South African police services not being charged.
The NPA says Matlala's safety will also be a key consideration.
We can't tell you what we have agreed on, because if we do that, we'll just be exposing him to the kind of security threats that might happen. But we are comfortable that those matters were raised and they are dealt with. And I don't want to go there, because that is the responsibility of correctional services, because it's in the care of correctional services. All I'm saying is all of those things have been considered. But you must be mindful that he is not a state witness as yet, because the ruling includes all of that, because he can, if that is accepted, then he will become a state witness. But if it's rejected, therefore we are back to where we were.
The real test of this deal will not be the sentence itself, but what follows. Prosecutors are banking on Matlala's evidence to unlock further arrests and potentially expose the full extent of the alleged corruption network. For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I'm Veronica Mkhwanazi in Pretoria.
That's it from me for this week, but you want to stay tuned to Channel 405 in case that plea deal is finalized and some of the arrests of those high-ranking officials is effected. And as far as the Madlanga Commission is concerned, guess who is appearing next week? It's one Major General Feroz Khan. Will he be there is the question at the top of my mind, at least. But from myself, for Ziyanda, Ngcobo, it's goodbye for now. Thank you for watching.